Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show. Welcome back to another beautiful episode of Curious, the podcast featuring young Uncle Josh Peck. What's good, guys? Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. God, can you believe this? You and us and me and we here together. I mean, this is just a fucking treat. Man, just got back from a trip. Just got back. I talked about it last week. A lot of anticipation, and now I'm back, and there it is, in the memory books. You know what I mean? That is now a page that will be in my memories, and I will be able to look back at it fondly. It was a great trip. A great trip. I was in Boston earlier. What was I doing there? You know, I went to go meet with the Bank of America team because I'm doing a cool social media activation with them. Great people. Great people. Had a good time. Got to kind of, put on my business skills, my presentational skills. But look, the reality is I'm just blessed to be able to do stuff like that because then I don't have to, do shitty movies. Get to work with a cool brand, make a funny video. Everybody's happy. You make a little scratch, pay your bills. This way I don't have to be, in middle of Canada for 2 months making some, I don't know, some horror movie that we all know isn't going to be great. It's going to eventually be one of those video on demand titles that one night you're just going to be painfully bored and there's nothing to watch on the 800 other channels that you already have. And so you say, yeah, Josh Peck, he's good, right? Is he? I'm not sure. I'll give it a try. And you turn it on within conservatively, 98 seconds, you're like, this is going to be a clunker. This is going to be shit. The cinematography is off. The color, it just looks not expensive. The acting's just a little off. And you're starting to silently resent me, maybe subconsciously, because, we've got a trust here. You know what I mean? And now you're sort of like, Josh Peck made me spend $4.95 for this Drek. Thanks a lot, Josh. So I don't do that, I work with cool brands and I get to, make social media videos and hopefully wait for something cool if it ever comes. And if it doesn't, well, this is pretty cool, Get to be on my podcast with my people. So lucky me. Then I went to New York. New York, great. Good times with my family, my wife's family. Very cool. Got to be the tour guide. Took them around all my spots. Artichoke pizza, 14th and 1st. Great. You know what I mean? They have this slice that has spinach artichoke dip on the slice. I mean, the place is named Artichoke, so you can only imagine. And then they got all the other ones. They got a vodka sauce Sicilian slice. Just let that sit in. Let that set in, that imagery of that delicious sauce that, you wouldn't naturally think that it would make its way onto a slice of pizza. But I'm here to tell you that it does, and it's glorious. Good spot. Artichoke pizza. Check that out. They're not a sponsor of the show. I'm just a fan. What else? What else did we do? I got to shoot with Casey Neistat, the YouTube sensation, mogul, entrepreneur, all around great guy. Yeah, I assume you've probably heard of him, and if you haven't, go check out his YouTube channel because the guy just does it right. But more so, I look up to him as just like a man because he's like 37. He's got the wife. He's got the kids. He's got it handled. I think he sold his first company to CNN for like dumb millions, like many millions, 7, 8 figures. 8 figures we're talking. That's impressive. I mean, the money, yeah, whatever. It's, money is nice. But like more so just the sheer completion of a project, because I don't know if you're like me, but I have issues where I'm a big dreamer and I love to fantasize. But when it comes down to putting pen to paper, fucking, yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. I think that's what separates the people that do it from the people that dream it. Fucking write that down, write that quote down, put it on a t-shirt, I mean, it's kind of true. You just got to do it. Anyway, Casey does it, and he's got this dope setup on downtown, and I don't know where it is, Tribeca. It's below Canal Street, but he's got like this cool new company that he's starting, and I'm just very impressed. I like being around people like that. Pushes me. I'm not sure whether it's sheer jealousy that then motivates me to do more, or that I'm inspired, but inevitably, who cares? Maybe it's both. But makes me want to do more, be a better me. And that's what this podcast is for you guys, to be a better you. Wow. I got affirmations all over the fucking place. It was just a good time. New York was a nice time. We went to a lovely wedding for family friends. Beautiful, out on Long Island. The people there are a can of corn, salt of the earth, good people. You know what I mean? Just nice. Yeah, nice people. Lovely, all different, working class, upper middle class, whatever. Just, you know what? Greenport, Long Island, shout out. It was quite beautiful. And it's always nice to talk to these guys with these great accents, and they'd be like, "Oh, fucking Josh Peck, what are you doing on the island, huh? What are you doing over? What are you doing in Greenport? What you like? You like it over here? You got family? Oh, you're here for a wedding? Oh, God bless. God bless them. God bless you. Big fan. Very nice." I had a weird interaction at the wedding with someone who was lovely, but, well, how do I say this? It was funny. So, this woman comes up to me, and she was very nice. Well, she comes up and she says, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, and it's just like a slight pet peeve of mine, so forgive me. And if I sound like a jerk in this scenario, I'm sure you'll let me know on Twitter at It's Josh Peck. But she comes up, she goes, "Listen, I have no idea who you are, and I'm not interested. You know what? I have no idea who you are. To me, you are just another human being. But my daughter would like a picture of you for the reasons I have no understanding why. But you know what? Take the picture, because I have no idea who you are. Did I mention I don't know you?" And so finally I take the picture, whatever. I'm so happy to oblige and make her daughter happy in any way I can. No big deal on my part. And then as we're parting, she feels the need to one more time say, "Allow me to remind you, no idea who you are." To which I finally respond, you don't have to tell me that. You could just, let's just make your daughter happy. And she looks at me, and a healthy pause, a beat, some might say, where literally through my head I'm going, this woman's going to throw a drink on me or punch me. And she looks at me and she goes, "I'm just an asshole, aren't I?" And to which I responded, "So nice meeting you." So I don't know. It didn't go the way I expected, but it wasn't bad. And I'm glad the daughter got the picture. It was very nice meeting them. No, I don't know. It's just a stupid pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure most people don't even realize it, and I'm probably the one to blame. What else is new? What's going on in the news, right? We should talk about that. There's a big golf open over the weekend. I hear that was good. Someone won who's important. Tiger almost made his way back. I saw a tweet that said Tiger Woods is going to be so horny if he wins this tournament. I thought that was good. Golf is one of those things. I never played it growing up. I'm quite awful. My father-in-law is great at it. So is my brother-in-law. And they've taken me out once before to go to the driving range, and I'm sure they're just looking at me with sheer pity and disgust, and just a side order of embarrassment that their son-in-law, brother-in-law is completely physically incapable of just having any physical prowess, but especially in golf. It's really a dumb sport. No, look, people get a lot out of it, so I think that's dope. I feel like if you never did it, and you didn't grow up with it, it's hard to see the joy. I mean, I get that it's pretty, and people love, the walking and the golf. I mean, our president, he'd like to spend every week there if he could at his golf course. And all due respect, if I had a golf course named after me, I'd probably want to hang out there too a lot. Fuck, if I had a convenience store named after me, I'd want to be there. But But yeah, it's just now at 31, it doesn't look like I'm ever going to pick it up. I'd rather be a good tennis player. That's a good adult sport that you can like play with other adults and stay in shape. I don't know. Speaking of, presidential golf courses, Trump warns Iran to never, ever threaten U.S. again or suffer consequences. Now, listen, I'm not going to get political on this podcast because the reality is I just don't. I know I'm not the one. You know what I mean? There's so many other people that are more educated and more equipped to give a better opinion about things than I. But what I will say is, and listen, I'll give this other caveat of saying that, look, fucking Trump, you know what? He's not my guy, but inevitably, I think we got the president that we deserved. And that's a quote from my friend Lucas. So I don't subjugate myself. I don't separate myself, or I'm not polarized. I don't think I'm so different from anyone else in this country that voted for him or didn't. I think we are all one, inevitably. So we got the president we deserve. We all rise together or go down together. We're all breathing the same air. You know what I mean? Anyway, I just find this whole thing with Trump warning Iran to never ever threaten the U.S. again, that so encapsulates the thing that people love about him. Because for so long, I think, politics lacked that fucking schoolyard bully cinematic moment. And that people, when he does stuff like that, there are people, not I, but, there are people that are just rising up with pure joy and excellence and saying, you get him, Donald. You tell him who's boss. Enough is enough. That posturing, it's schoolyard bullying in the best version. And look, inevitably, like, it goes so much further than that. And when when you've got nuclear weapons pointed at each other, sometimes I would imagine it requires a bit more nuance in your communication to truly get through the things that you need. But I mean, yeah, the big man, the highest man in the highest office stood up for us. He went toe to toe with Goliath, and he told him who's boss. Good on him. That's what people love. I don't know if that's making sense, but it's that schoolyard bullying type thing. Yup. What? See, this is why I shouldn't talk about politics, because that didn't even make sense to me. Anyway, on today's show, Yvette Nicole Brown. I've known this woman for over 15 years, and it has been a joy every single year of that experience. She's incredibly talented. I remember when she came on the set of Drake and Josh, and I think we talk about this in our conversation, within like one day of working together, we all looked at each other and said, well, this person needs to be on as many episodes as possible immediately. Her talent is undeniable, from Community to The Odd Couple to Drake and Josh to so many other TV shows, movies. She's a super fan. She's just an undeniable talent and a wonderful person. I feel lucky to know her. And so I got to sit down with her for a little bit and chat it up. So hope you guys enjoy. Here's Yvette. What's up, y'all? Sorry to interrupt. It's your boy, Uncle Josh. Listen, we're going to get through this together, but this show is successful, so we got some ads this week. Anyway, are you suffering from stagnant workflow, lemon flavor depletion, cross-platform synergy, having a career? You might be entitled to advice from Brandon, Vitamin Water brand ambassador and professionally busy man. Call 833-477-8339 to see if he can squeeze you in today, because as Brandon says, there is nothing more professional than Brandon. Brandon is an unpaid spokesperson for Vitamin Water and should not be trusted with business advice or any advice for that matter. I think it's
that dulcet sounds
sultry.
It is kind of sultry.
Yeah, right? I feel like you should be like, what would that voice be good for like a book on tape or something?
Or like just like a soothing. There's this app called Calm.
I've heard about it.
Josh.
Tell me.
Calm is the best thing in the world. First of all, I have insomnia, right? And I'm always trying to find a way to not have insomnia. And Calm is like famous people reading you stories as you go to bed.
Really?
So they'll be like, Hi, I'm Yvette Nicole Brown, and I'm reading Fox with Socks. There's a fox. And they read it really slow and whatever. And before you know it, it's morning.
You're done.
You're done. You're done. So, and I think anybody can do one. Like, I don't think it's like, I think we could do one. We could do a calm.
I'll do it right now.
Do it. Do a calm right now.
Shoot.
3 blind mice.
Read by Josh Peck.
Why did I think Calm was like a meditation app?
It's that too. It's got the
Oh.
books on tape. It's got meditation. It's got music. It's got sounds. It's the best. And it's not free, but with everything I've said about it, it shouldn't be free.
Well, but for everything you've said, you should have a promo code.
You're darn right. I feel like and honestly, I don't have a kickback. I'm not associated with them at all. I just think they're great.
Just type in Yvette Nicole Brown for 25% off.
You know what's so funny too? I've been told before that I give away way too many things for free. Because I'm such a promo person. Like, I love promoting my friends and stuff. And I do stuff like I just did. I did a commercial for an app I have nothing to do with, which is ridiculous.
It's Yvette's picks.
It's my picks.
You know, it's funny. My one of my best friends, Cameron, he has to fall asleep to a book on tape every night.
See?
And he listens to the British reading of like the Harry Potter series.
It's so classy.
But whenever like he and I have shared a hotel room before, and like just the buzz of his headphone will keep me
you
up
up for the rest of the
because
night.
I'll swear I can hear coming out of like his earlobe, like, and then Hermione walked into the chamber.
You should just put it on speaker and just have the experience.
Really?
You know? Is he doing it because he wants to go to sleep, or is he doing it because he just wants to read the book and he doesn't have time to read the book and it's the best time to do it?
No, he has insomnia, and it's like the only cure for him.
See, you might be listening to Calm and you don't know it.
Yeah, right? Have you always had the insomnia?
I have not always had the insomnia. It's like as I've gotten older, I almost
Is
use
it neuroses?
Yeah, I think
What's
it
it
might
from?
be. I think it's kind of like as you get older. Let me tell you, young man, as you get older, I'm a bit older than you. I think when you get older, your body's like, I ain't got much time. And so your body's like, I'm going to grab this hot 5.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
let that be enough to get you through the day. You know what I mean? That's what I think, because I remember when I was a kid, my mother only slept like 5 hours a night. And so I think it's kind of when you get older, unless it's just genetics between me and my mom. But
Right.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
Do you think it was your mom slept just for that chunk because there was work to be done? She had kids to take care of?
Probably. Don't you think that? I mean, you don't have kids yet, but
No.
I think once you have kids, I don't think you ever sleep fully anyway. You're always kind of one eye open, I would think.
I'm sure.
Because you're concerned about your kids. So it could have been that. We also lived in East Cleveland, the hood, so it might not have been the safest area. So she might have had one eye open to make sure nobody was breaking in.
Right. There was some
There's
tomfoolery
some
going on at night.
tomfoolery going on back then. So yeah.
I wonder that because I feel like sleep as you get older becomes this commodity that is so coveted. And
So precious.
I hear it in my mom finally got to a place, and
How's Mama?
she's the best.
I love his mom, you guys. His mom's the best.
She's a dream. And she too was like, and she's like very, not a medicine person at all, but she started taking like melatonin and like kind of the natural sleep remedies. Because she's like, I'm 74.
Yeah.
I can't sleep.
Yeah.
And who cares?
Who cares?
If I pop a Tylenol PM every
Live
now
your
and
life,
again.
girl. Live
you know?
your life.
Like, let me just enjoy this.
Yeah.
So you talk about your mom and growing up in Akron.
Well, Cleveland.
Or
I went to
Cleveland, sorry.
college. No, you're good, because I went to college in Akron. That's probably where you got it from.
Got you.
But I grew up in East Cleveland, yeah.
And what was what was the land like
The
then?
land like back then.
This was like the 80s?
This is the 80s.
Okay.
It was my brother and me and my mom. It was three of us, single parent home. My dad was around. They just were divorced.
Sure.
I remember it being idyllic, which is crazy. Like, looking back now, I mean, it's much worse now, but looking back, it was like, oh, it was kind of a rough neighborhood. But at the time, it was lovely, you
Right.
know? And we lived there until, I think I was in 5th grade when we moved up to like the suburbs. And for me, it was like culture shock, because we went from, kids in like Wrangler jeans and ponytails, and these girls were in like designer jeans and we're going to get the hair done. And
Fancy.
they, had like Coach purses and stuff. And I was like, who are these aliens? So that was like culture shock for me. But what I remember most growing up was we didn't have a lot material, but we had a lot of love. Like, I just remember being so much love in my house, like between me and my mother and my brother. We used to call ourselves the Three Musketeers, and we were just really, really close. So it almost made you forget, like, we may not have extravagant Christmases or Christmas at all. You know what I mean? It was more like
Sure.
Christmas, you getting some underwear and some
The
socks.
the essentials.
You want,
Okay.
you want the lights on?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Exactly.
You know, it's that kind of deal. So, which is fine. Like, my mother's like a straight talker, kind of like me. So it's cool.
Did you find yourself, because I have, I grew up with a single mom, and I've never, I never got to meet my pops, but I felt slightly raised by this tigress mother who was tough and fabulous in so many ways, but had to sort of serve the roles of both parents in some respect. And then I also found myself raised a little bit by the television.
100%.
Did you find that as well?
100%. Because I'm older than you, but when I grew up, and I don't know if this was still happening when you got here, but we had latchkey kids where, and they were still abducting kids and killing kids back in the 70s and 80s, but for some reason they put a key around your neck and be like, goodbye.
Right.
And you would walk yourself to school, walk yourself home. And I just remember, just feeling very adult when I was a kid. And I was deciding some things, because my mother didn't come home till like 5 o'clock. So I would come home and turn on TV, and it was like just watching sitcoms and cartoons. And that was kind of what formed who I am.
Right.
Don't you feel like it formed your comedy and stuff too? Like,
Oh,
the
without
stuff,
a doubt.
100%, right?
I find especially, and you think about stuff like Drake and Josh and how I was just trying to do an impression of Jackie Gleason.
I was doing an impression of Marla Gibbs.
Really?
From the Jeffersons.
Unreal.
Yes, like you do what you know. You know what I mean?
Did you know that initially, or was it revealed halfway through? You're like, oh, I kind of am stealing a little bit of this or that.
I kind of realized it later in my career that I'm pretty much doing any role I do is either some type of mixture of Marla Gibbs, Felicia Rashad, or B. Arthur. Those three people have informed
The Mount Rushmore of matriarchs.
Right. Like, they have just informed everything I've ever done, because all three of those women were always the smartest person in the room. In any scene you walk in, they were the smartest person in the room.
Yes.
They all had a tough edge at times, but they still were lovable.
Right.
And they all had a way with a joke, especially Marla Gibbs. Like, there's nobody her comedic timing is second to none.
Yes.
So I do think I think I didn't make a choice, but I think out of osmosis, because that's what you grew up watching, you just look up and go, oh, holy crap. You know what I mean? This is pretty cool that I'm embodying some of the things that she did. And it's funny you say Jackie Gleason for you. Now that you say it, I can see it.
Sure.
But I don't think when we were younger doing Drake and Josh, I was like, that kid's doing Jackie. I don't think it ever hit me then. But now that you say it, I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. I think that there is this intrinsic, I always feel like comedy is musical. It's rhythmic.
It's rhythmic. You can hear the ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You can hear it. 100%. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And who's the famous, he's the famous multicam director.
James Burrows?
Yes.
Who turns his back?
Yes. And he could just listen.
He listens and knows.
And wouldn't even have to watch a take and would know if it was right, because, and especially, and I find comedy has sort of shifted now where it's sort of, the taste has become more of like, I don't know if reality based or whatever, but of the old shticky sitcom rhythm, there's a certain banter, and
There is.
and you got to hit those moments.
And you either hear the music or you don't. Like, I think when things shifted to single cam, there's a whole generation of people that have come up that don't hear the music.
Yes.
So when you now that multicam is kind of coming back a little bit, there's people that don't really know the da. It's just, there really is. And when you read it, you can hear it. Like, I write notations in my script almost like musical notes. I'll know where the pause is and where this should breathe, this should go up. You can just literally ride the wave of it if it's written well. Yeah. 100%.
And do you feel like growing up and watching these shows that there was a, I find too that I love the new comedy, but I have an affinity for the old.
Oh, come on. I live for multi. I think because it's in my DNA. You know what I mean? Especially, like, your generation grew up on Nickelodeon, which was the only place for a while you could get a multicam sitcom.
Yes.
Because around the time you were coming up, they were starting to just kind of segue into the single cam thing. So I think your generation for sure is almost neck and neck with mine. There's a group now, though, that I think that started watching TV around the time Community and Parks and Rec and 30 Rock started. They missed it, unless they're catching reruns on Nickelodeon. their touchstone is the single cam way of doing it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out later on, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like multicam and Nickelodeon type shows and 70s and 80s sitcoms, they're such a unique thing, you know?
Right.
And I did a pilot this past pilot season, and there were a couple of people on the show that had never done a multicam before, and it was like, oh, what is this? What is this? Like, what do you mean? There's no fourth wall. Like, they just could not, in their whole career, they'd never had to do it.
Right.
So one of them was saved because he was a stage actor. So he was like, oh, wait, okay, so it's a stage, it's a play. Once you realize that, you're good. But otherwise, you're walking on this set like, well, what is it? Why are people in the stands? What is, it's so foreign.
It's a different energy for sure. And I think what's interesting too, it's funny, when we had finished Drake and Josh in 2006, and then we took like a 2-year break and came back for the Christmas movie.
Yes.
And in that time, I had done, some movies and the whackness and certain things that required it to be,
Smaller.
more grounded. And I remember we came back and doing my first scene of the Christmas movie with Kimbo Slice, R.I.P.
May he rest in peace, my God.
Like just a gem of a guy.
Sweet man.
And I remember we did the first few takes, and Dan, the creator of the show, took me over to the side, and he's like, and God bless him because he was a huge fan of what I had done since Drake and Josh.
Right,
But he said, that's not going to fly here. And he just said, what you're doing is great if this was like an indie movie,
right.
but you've got to ramp the energy back up to where we were. And I was like, and of course, because I had done it for so long, I was like, okay, gotcha. And it sort of clicked right back. But I remember thinking like, yeah, like this is.
And did it feel too big to you for a minute? Like for a minute were you like, this is huge.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm a shtick machine.
Tell me about it. Don't I know?
Jesus. And
Come on.
I
Ham.
mean, and sometimes to my detriment where I'm like, all right, really, I'm milking this hard.
Yeah.
So it's my natural sort of resting default.
Right.
And yet, yeah, I remember sort of having to go back to that place. But I mean, there's nothing like the roar of an audience when you know something works.
Yeah.
And like, I hit it. Like, that's why comedy is the closest thing to justice.
Yeah.
Because immediately, it's not, there's no objectivity to it. It's just, there is objectivity. It's not subjective.
Right.
Like, it's clear, like, that connected.
And could you feel it, though? Because I came in on Drake and Josh, I think, hold on, I have to cough.
No worries.
I came in on Drake and Josh, I think, maybe either the tail end of the first season or the second season. I can't remember. I don't remember us ever having an audience. Like we would get the crew would laugh for us, but I don't remember ever being an audience. Can you hear the music? Can you hear where the laughs are without an audience? Or do you need that? Do you prefer?
It's funny. I love the audience, and I find that you just in your bones if something has
something
hit.
funny. Yeah.
And then it's funny, I got to work with Zelda Williams, who's Robin's daughter, and on a movie, and she could just tell like what an insane deep fan I was of his and am. And she said, there's this great story that I always tell people about when my dad first did Good Morning Vietnam.
Okay.
And she said, like, remember, he was coming off Mork and Mindy, which was traditional sitcom, laugh,
huge, right?
Immediate response.
Right.
She said, and if you watch really closely, even in the final product, there are slight millisecond moments where after a joke, he looks in the camera because he was almost trying to see how the joke landed.
Wow.
And see the reaction.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it's only like if you're really paying attention and it's a millisecond of a moment.
Yeah.
But he was, that's how he was sort of groomed.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I so understand that love of the immediate reaction.
And you know what's funny? I'm weird in this way. Like I love the multicam format, but I really prefer it in a hybrid form. Like I liked it the way we did it on Drake and Josh.
Yes.
Because I'm a people pleaser, right?
Yes.
So if you add an audience, it's not me performing to get the rush from them. It's me performing so that they're happy too.
Right.
So you have to make your cast members happy. You have to make the director happy. You have to make sure you're doing something that the camera likes. And then you add a whole nother level of pressure with the people.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. So for me, because I can feel the music, I know when I got it and when I don't have it. And I remember I had a coming back moment kind of like you. We finished Drake and Josh and even had finished the movie. and I started doing Community, which is, I mean, it's kind of a cartoonish show when you think about it, but it's single cam.
Right.
And so we came back, Dan asked me to come back and do Victorious. And I hadn't done Helen in 2 or 3 years. I, had said goodbye to that character and was now embodying another completely wacky character. And my biggest fear was, oh my God, when I watch this episode, is Helen gonna be Shirley?
Right.
Like, am I a good enough actress where I can create 2 completely different weirdos? And will it land? So I almost waited a long time to actually watch the episode because I was so terrified. When I first watched it and realized that, one, I was able to grab Helen and bring her back because it had been years, but then she really is a completely different person from who Shirley is. Right. So it's like I was happy to see that our characters live in us, and it might be just a little tap on the shoulder going, take it up just a little bit, like you're not giving enough, or it's good to know that they don't ever really leave us. You know what I mean? We can go into the voice or the mannerisms if we have to.
Yes.
So.
And do you think, I think people would be interested to hear, because the dynamic of a live, taping for a sitcom is so, because, and I'll qualify this because I have to, because it's the day and age we live in of like, it's so wonderful. We're so lucky.
So
yes,
blessed. So happy.
Thank God. But when you're there and it's Friday and it's 4 o'clock and they've brought in, 200 people and they're like getting hopped up on candy and pizza. And you've got like this wonderful stand-up comic who's there trying to keep the audience alive. But 4 hours in, they want to go home. And you know what? So do we. And everyone. And sometimes you have those magical nights where everything's hitting and, you get everything in 2 takes. But sometimes it takes 10.
It's beating a dead horse, yeah.
And the audience has heard that joke and it ain't funny anymore. And you're like, oh my God, this is slightly torturous.
Yeah. But can you say this, though? Even that, what you described, isn't it still a lighter experience than your worst day on a single camera set?
100%.
100%.
100%.
100%. The worst day on a single camera show, and again, grateful, lovely, awesome. The worst day on a single camera show is what I think hell is. Like if I had to pick what hell is, it would be the worst, longest, most tedious day on a single camera show. Because they're already hard work, and you add in, if you can't get the lighting right, or the camera is in the wrong place, or somebody's forgetting their lines, or somebody has Montezuma's Revenge, whatever the thing is, the mix of things. Life happens. It just feels so long. It feels like the longest day on the planet.
Well, and I think so too. And this is one reason why I do appreciate the sitcom structure. And I don't favorite it because I think single cam has a whole other benefit. But the way that a single cam is set up is the first 3 days you are doing run-throughs and rehearsing, and you're not filming.
Nope.
So every day you have a chance to show what you've got to the writers and the director, and then they conspire and say, how can we elevate the jokes?
Make it better.
Kill the ones that didn't work, and make the ones that did work even better.
Right.
So for better or for worse, by Friday when you're filming,
you're good.
You're probably there. Whereas you could show up Monday morning to something that's maybe never been read out loud on a single cam, and you just go, I believe that this was funny in the writer's room.
Right.
But for some reason, it coming out of my mouth
is not hitting.
It's not
exactly
working.
And guess what? We're going to film it anyway.
Right.
We're going to film it.
Yeah, it's happening.
So, and worst case scenario, at lunch, they will reassess some scenes for later in the day, and you'll come back and you'll have new sides. But we're going to keep filming all day no matter what's in your hand.
Yeah, time is money.
Time is money.
Let's go.
Time is money. The other thing, if I had to pick one other thing that's an advantage of a multicam over single, I'm not a makeup hair girl. Like, I'll do it.
Same here.
I can't. I'll do it if I got to do it. But I'm not someone's like, let me get up, put my lashes on. When you're working a single cam, you are in makeup and hair every single day. And if you're a girly girl or a macho, I don't know what metrosexual guy, it's cool for you. Otherwise, no. I like rolling in my cute little sweats or baseball cap and rehearse for 3 days and then get cute on the 2 tape days.
Same here.
That's the other thing, yeah.
It's funny. It's a reason why I don't film this because I found that there are certain people that feel like, well, that adds a whole other layer to it. I've got to get done up.
Right.
And I also felt like maybe a video aspect would affect the intimacy of
what it
this.
is. And you know what's funny? I started to call you to see if you were going to take pictures or video. And I was like, I had a meeting today anyway, so I had to get it somewhat together.
Yeah, I know that.
But I was like, this is like our reunion. We haven't seen each other since I visited you on set of
I remember.
Grandfather. So my thought was, I'm going to take a picture with Josh anyway. So I want to look nice whether he films it or not. So
And you do.
thank you, Josh.
You are crushing it.
Thank you,
Hard body
Josh.
karate. A
Thank you.
sight, a vision.
Back at you, baby. Back at you.
And do you think that going back to what you were talking about your family structure growing up, I don't know if, and maybe I'm projecting, but growing up, I think I had an affinity for sitcoms because of the traditional family unit that I was watching. Did you feel that?
I feel the same way. And also what I loved about it was, there's a family aspect of it, and then there's the familiarity of it. Every time you turn on Sanford and Son, you're going to see the junkyard, the living room, and the kitchen.
Right.
That's familiar. It is as much as life changes, that stays the same. They're going to come down the same staircase, sit on the same couch. That part of it was also very comforting to me as a kid, especially, like I said, being latchkey, you come home and you're by yourself. Me and my brother were there by ourselves. And it just felt like somebody was home with us. The Jeffersons were home with us or whatever. We watched a lot of 60s sitcoms in the 80s. They put like Brady Bunch and I Dream of Jeannie, those types of things were in heavy reruns. They rerun those shows so much. I didn't know they weren't new. Kind of probably how kids feel about Drake and Josh now.
Right.
I bet this happens to you. You go out and you see a kid and they're like, wait a minute. Like it looks like him, but he's a man. Right?
Oh, I can't believe the disparity between a 29-year-old who will come up to me and be like, you were my childhood. And I'll be like, I'm 2 years older than you.
Relax, dude. Right.
But then a 10-year-old.
It's like, you're my childhood.
And I'm like, I can't believe it.
I ran into Miranda recently. Was randomly at the Anthropology. My favorite store is another free commercial.
It's a great store.
It's a great store.
Yes.
And ran into her and her mom. And it always blows my mind when I see her because she's frozen at like 12 in my brain.
Sure.
And then maybe 2 weeks later, maybe a month later, she's celebrating her 25th freaking birthday. Well, how
It's weird.
How is Miranda Cosgrove 25?
I know. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
She was my little sister.
She was a baby.
I know. She dates.
She dates?
She does all the things.
This is unacceptable.
That young women do.
You don't do those things. She doesn't.
It's breaking.
She doesn't. You do
my
not.
Heart.
Fuzzy, if you're listening, cut it out.
Enough already with this whole
Enough with the whole growing
people.
up and meeting and dating.
Save it. Will you just freeze your adolescence?
Freeze your adolescence.
And how was your relationship with your brother growing up? Were you guys super close?
We were very close growing up, and we are still very close. We just don't talk as much as we used to.
Sure.
But me and my brother's relationship is such that if I call him, we're going to be on the phone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like just from start to finish, we're going to run everything down. And we also have this thing where if one of us has a mayday, like if one of us is going through a heartbreak or a job situation or something that we're just not feeling, we get it. We know that the other person, if there's one other person in the world that will understand exactly where I'm coming from, my brother will.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we can get on the phone. He'll be like, well, like Mom always says, Vic. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's a touchstone that's really great.
Yeah, there's nothing like sharing a parent,
Right.
sharing parents.
Right.
Only, it's funny, it's come up in acting class too, where whenever I've had a scene with a sibling or something, and our teacher, Sharon, she'll always say like, remember, like this person saw you through everything.
Everything.
And sometimes she'll even say, she'll stop a scene in the middle and she'll be like, hold hands.
Yeah.
She's like, just be there, like be in each other's space for a minute because like it's thicker than you could ever imagine. Your past and your relationship.
Yeah, it's funny you say this. I saw a picture today on Instagram. It was I guess a late Father's Day post. And there was a guy, I don't know these people, who was on the Explore page. A father. On one side, it's a father holding both of his kids in his arms when they were like, 5 and 4.
Yes.
And then it was another picture of him holding them when they're like 25 and 24. And he's dying because the son is really huge now and the daughter's, And I noticed that the daughter and the brother, everybody was just entwined.
Right.
And for a minute, I was like, that's a lot of closeness. And I'm like, that's her brother and her dad. That's his sister and his dad. Like, that's what family is. Family is limbs intertwined and face smushed to the side of somebody else's face. Like, I have a picture of me and my brother sleeping in my mom's bed where his foot is literally on the side of my face. And that's just what it is. Like, it's just that level of closeness and understanding,
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just, my mom and I are incredibly close, and it's so cool being married now, and my wife being from like a big
family?
traditional, beautiful family. And even it's funny, recently we were all at a wedding together,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh, let's get a family photo. And so the siblings and the parents get together, and I'm like, oh, here, I'll take it. And they're like, no,
No, you're a part of the family.
you're a part of the family.
How is that for you?
Oh, it's mind blowing.
Because it's just been you and your mom.
My whole life.
That has got to be like the most amazing thing ever.
It's awesome.
And is it good for her too? Like, is she able to release you and let you be a part of another?
It's fabulous.
Good.
And not that I don't think my wife would have been absolutely wonderful had I had a big family of my own,
Right.
but I think it's great that she doesn't have to share me.
Yes.
Because, they include my mom and they're so wonderful with that.
So great.
But it's their big family, and then my mom and I. And
That's so perfect, though.
I feel like it's weirdly the universe rewarding me, because had, my wife not had that family, it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
But it's such a bonus.
Right, and you also would have never known. Like,
Right.
you know now what you would have been missing, but at the time you wouldn't have known. Like, if she didn't have a big family, you wouldn't have known how
Right.
great it is,
Ah.
I wonder what that's like too, because like I said, it was just me, my mother, and my brother. So that's a very small unit as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, if I ever marry, it might be nice if my husband has a big family to just see what that is like. But then on the other side, I'm kind of a loner.
So am I. And that will come up.
Ooh.
And like sometimes when we're on long family vacations and when you're part of a big family, you get good at chilling.
Right.
Because it's we all are under one roof.
Right.
And we will entertain each other.
Right.
And like, thank God I now have found my balance where it's like, I love you all so much. I'm going to go to the gym.
Right.
Barnes and Noble, and perhaps a coffee bean
Right.
line.
By myself. See you later.
See you all in 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. Yeah.
And it's not good or bad. It's just what I need to sort of keep
Right.
my sanity. And my wife, on the other hand, is totally fine chilling all day.
Because her whole life she's
used to it.
right. How many siblings?
She's one of 4.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a big family.
But it's so fabulous for me too, like observing all like just the isms
Yeah.
of what or especially something I've had to learn is, as an only child, who knows all my deep-seated insecurity, but
Yeah.
I'm so damn sensitive.
Yeah.
And also, my mom always brought me around all her girlfriends.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm a grown up. At
Right.
10, I was a
Right.
grown up.
Right.
And so it's so interesting seeing how siblings are someone breaking your balls every
All the
day.
time.
And it teaches you how to be tough.
That's
And
so-
I didn't have that.
But do you know how mature it is and how evolved it is to be able to say as a man that I'm sensitive? Like
Really?
oh my God, most men would never admit that they're sensitive.
I feel like it's in fashion.
It might be. I hope it gets in more fashion. I
Yeah.
think that guys somehow feel like they're not supposed to feel and they're not supposed to admit that things hurt their feelings. And I think a lot of relationships would be saved if men would admit that they're hurt instead of mad.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of times the natural set point is, well, I'm walking out the door. They
Right.
say, but why though? Because I said something you ain't like? Well, let's
Right.
talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
think that's really good that you're honest about that, because then she can be a little more tender with you. She can be careful.
Oh, God knows she's had to be too.
I love it.
Sometimes the roles are reversed in the sense of like, she'll be like, God, do we really have to talk about everything?
All your feelings?
Enough already. And it's fascinating because, and I've talked about this on the pod before, I had to learn that, when you have siblings and you have family doesn't leave.
Right.
So you're allowed to mess up.
Right, because no one's going anywhere.
Yeah, you're allowed to be mad at each other.
Right.
You're allowed to even go to sleep angry.
Yep.
Because no one's going anywhere. We're
It's
family.
blood. It's blood.
And me, I've got that fight or flight. Like, well, if this is going this way, I suppose we should call it.
I'm the same way, Josh. Where does this come from?
It's from our childhood.
Is
It's
it?
Freudian. Oh yeah.
Holy crap, man.
It's
I'm
deep.
literally like, well, it was nice knowing you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And it's like I just said, I want to have pizza over hamburgers, babe. Which I'm like, I don't care. You don't love me.
Right. Thanks for
And
the memories.
he's like, what?
I know.
I know. Like everything is like the freaking end. It's crazy.
It's just it's all and it's funny too. I was talking to my buddy Jordan Rock, Chris
Yes.
Rock's younger brother,
Yes.
and he's the best, and he grew up with a single mom too, and we were just sort of trading stories once, and he was like, you have to understand, he said, a single mom, and it's hard enough growing up as our mothers did in the times that they did being
Right.
female,
Right.
and sort of the injustice and
Right.
and things that they had to fight against, and then being like the sole parent.
Sole breadwinner too.
I mean, they are, I know I said tigress before, but they develop such ferocity.
Yeah.
And sometimes now, like if my mom and I butt heads a little bit, I'll be like, Ma, it's all like, we're past that.
Right.
Like, it's all good. Like,
Right.
you don't have to flex on me.
Right.
Like,
I get it. You're in charge. You're the one.
Yeah. Like,
You're alpha.
I'm your fan.
Right.
You win. Like,
I love it.
right?
It's so true. It's so true.
What did your mom do?
She was a secretary. She
Really?
worked at General Electric in Ohio for 35 years.
A company woman.
Yeah, she was a company woman.
Wow.
I was blown away when she told me recently that by the time she retired, after 35 years, she was only making $25,000.
Unreal.
How did she raise 2 kids off of, less than $25,000 for most of that time? I'm blown away by that. You know what I mean?
So that's some superhero shit.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And she's still in Ohio?
She's here. She
Really?
lives 10 minutes from me. She moved. I came out here in 94 or 95, and she came the next year, so 96, 97. So she's been here a while. She took a little detour to Vegas to play bingo for,
Good for her.
10 or 11 years. And then she
We all
moved
need
back.
hobbies.
Listen, why not? Gamble.
Does she still gamble?
She still gambles.
God bless her.
She's not. She's actually at bingo right now.
Small
She's
pots,
at,
I assume.
Well, I mean, we define small pot. Like for me, I think some of these games, it's like $20 to buy in. That's not a cheap game to me.
Well,
If I
if
give
you
you
play for the day?
No, I don't think it's for the day. I
Oh.
think it's like for, like I think maybe she could go to bingo in town for like $100 a night. But my thing is,
All
if I'm
right.
giving you $100, I need to come back with 2.
Right.
You can't just drop $100 a night. Like who could do that?
This is entertainment.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like entertainment unless you're winning. That's the fun part. Yeah.
Well, Vegas isn't built on winners.
No, it is not built for winners.
But it's great to have her close.
It is, and
Yeah.
I take care of my dad. I've talked about this a 1,000 times, but my dad has dementia, and I went and got him 2013. So it's been 5 years. In December, it'll be 5 years. He lives with me. I'm his sole caregiver,
Wow.
which is really cool. And so, not cool that he has dementia. That sounded weird, but cool that I'm able to be there with him as he walks this journey. So when I have to work out of town, my mother will come and stay. She lives like 10 minutes away, so she'll come and stay with us. And the funny thing about it, this is the first time in my life I've lived in the same house with my dad.
Right.
Ever. Like they got divorced when I was like 1 year old. So when I moved him in, it was the first time I'd ever been in the same house with him.
And what's that dynamic like?
My dad is the coolest dude. Like he's really laid back. He's very funny. The dementia affects his memory. And some days are better than others. Like some days he's there, but not really there. And then other days it's like the cloud or the blinds are lifted and he's 100% there. It's such a weird disease. But what I do is I just pop in on him in the morning. By the time I say, hey, Daddy, how he responds to me, I'll know what kind of day it's going to be. And I roll with whatever day it is because he has no control over it.
Right.
You know, so it's been a really interesting thing to be the keeper of someone else's memories, which is the way I see it. Like he's got really strong memories from certain, like anywhere from like 15 and younger, he has great memories. It's almost like a blur from like 15 to now. So different things will pop in, but he remembers his childhood more than anything. So sometimes I'm like, yeah, Dad, remember that time we went there? He'd be like, no, I bet I don't remember that. I go, Dad, this is what happened. We went here and, you know, so it's kind of a gift because every story's new to him.
Right.
You got to find, I think in life, you know how they say lemons turn lemons into lemonade. Everything that happens to you, there's something in it that is good. Like right now, I don't have my voice. And I could be like, oh, it sucks. I do a podcast on my voice. But we are immortalizing this amazing huskiness
I'm
that
telling
we
you.
never would have had before. Like this is the only time in life that you'll get to hear me speak like this. And it's great that this gets to be immortalized. I like it a little bit.
This is going in the files.
I think
in
it
the,
should.
In the vaults.
I think it should.
The annals,
The
perhaps.
annals, perhaps. Yeah.
And I mean, in a weird way, it is sort of like the circle of life
Yeah.
and taking care of our parent, right?
100%. But you know what's so deep about it, Josh? Like I'm older than you, and I'm a little morbid by nature. I realize this about myself. Like I just been realizing, like my new way of getting over anything quicker is like we all gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
Like when you really just break down whatever big dream you have, whatever heartbreak you have, like it doesn't mean that you don't feel it and don't accept it and it is horrible or whatever. But it's not really going to matter because we all going to die.
Right.
Whoever breaks your heart, they going to die too. Like
Yes.
everybody's going to die. The person that didn't give you the job, they going to die one day.
Yeah.
Person cut you off on the 405, they going to die too. So it's kind of a great equalizer and makes you kind of go, well, I don't know when I'm going to go. So let me stay in the moment. Let me
Yes.
just experience the good, the bad, the whatever it is. Let me just fully experience it because today may be my day and I don't even know it yet. That's what's so deep about it. When we go, most of us don't know what's happening or it's going to happen.
Yes.
So why not just accept that, let stuff roll off your back and just try to enjoy every single second that you're still here. And that's kind of the place that I'm at now. It's just...
There's a great Seinfeld bit where he goes, in 60 years,
Right.
all new people.
It's so true.
All new people.
It's true. I was thinking this too about, those of us in the industry who are just chasing these dreams.
And everything feels so
Important, right?
the stakes.
You want to know how not important it is?
Tell
Walk
me.
down the Hollywood Boulevard
Right.
and look at those stars. For every Michael Jackson that will transcend generations, there's like a Mary Jenkins.
Yes.
That was important enough in 1939 or whenever she got her star to be selected to get that great honor, which was probably an even bigger honor back then, right?
Sure.
And now we're walking over going, who the hell is Mary Jenkins?
Right.
Exactly. So
Was she on
what
CSI
is she-
Miami?
Hi.
Right.
So whatever great thing she did that she fought and scratched and climbed and prayed for and fought for that she did, we're 40, 50, 60, 90 years from it and nobody gives a shit. Can I cuss?
Please.
Nobody gives a shit. Sorry,
Yes.
I just cussed and I'm husky. Nobody cares. And so it's not in any way to diminish the work of the people from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, but it kind of gives you perspective to those of us in 2018 that are chasing it. Like, okay, you got an Emmy. That's nice.
Right.
50 years from now, no one will care.
No one gives a shit.
No one gives a shit. So
No.
maybe don't step on people's necks to get the Emmy.
Oh,
Maybe you
100%.
don't become a jerk to get something that 30 years from now no one will care about.
Oh,
Come on.
It's a great equalizer.
Doesn't
And
it? Equalizes everything.
And I feel like anyone, with any sort of, there are no new ancient truths.
Right.
And so anyone with any semblance of spirituality, be it super religious or what have you, I think this is a Rumi quote, but
I love Rumi.
but it's something to the effect of like, we get to a place where we neither rejoice nor despair.
Hi.
Right?
Isn't that the goal?
It's just some, it's
Just to be,
float.
listen.
Let's be in the middle.
Can I just be like, listen, for those listening, we are not saying give up and don't have dreams. And,
No, not at all.
No, it's great.
Because life is boring otherwise.
Life is boring otherwise. But how about you don't let whether you get the dream or not destroy your day?
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Like, chase everything. Chase what you want. But understand that you can't take none of it with you. We all gonna die anyway. And nothing worth having is worth stepping on a neck to get. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. So how about you just practice kindness and to others and chase your dreams and just try to stay equal.
Right.
Just don't go crazy one way or the other.
A buddy of mine always says, the thing that great times and hard times have in common is that they're impermanent
Hi.
and that the universe demands balance.
Come on.
So know that, we're all in such fear and projection of the tough times.
Right.
But just know this, they're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming.
Oh
so
my God, it's
we
so
must find
Josh,
meaning in it.
It's so true. Find your meaning. And I think sometimes the great times are there just so you can have something. They're there like a port in the storm for when it gets dark. Because I always think of life in seasons, right? When you're in the summertime, it's amazing. It's amazing. But then it gets a little too hot. And
Yes.
it's too sticky, and you can't wait for it gets a little cooler. Then it gets into fall, and the leaves are changing. Like, this is beautiful. Then it's too many leaves, and
Right.
and the trees are bare, and you want something else. Then it starts to snow. Oh, it's so wonderful. Then it's too cold.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you want the flowers to bud and grow. There's a longing. There's a point in every season where you're longing for the next season. It's the same thing. When stuff is too good for too long, you immediately start to go.
Right.
And then the shoe drops, and you're like, and then you're like, and then the good comes. It's just a cycle. You just gotta keep going.
That should be the name of your self-help book if you ever put
It's
it
a
out.
cycle.
It's a cycle or too many leaves.
Too many leaves. Too many leaves by Yvette Nicole Brown.
It's funny, like just from the career standpoint. During pilot season, I was auditioning for some fabulous 1-hour procedural, which I'm sure is great.
Did he get picked out?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I was looking And here I'm sitting there, and I've been lucky enough to work a good amount and had ups and downs in my career. And then I look to my son, and I'll say it because who cares? Because he's a lovely guy. He played Walter White's son on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Aaron. No. Oh, what's his name? I gotta Google it. Can we
Google it.
Let's Google it.
I know this is where I gotta have a team.
We got a team. We got a small team in here.
And he couldn't. I mean, he's just a lovely guy. He's sitting there. I'm sitting there. And then another buddy of mine, James, who was on One Tree Hill for like 13 seasons.
See.
We're all there, and we're all auditioning for the same role. And it didn't matter.
RJ.
Well
Sweet
done.
Guy, sweet kid.
RJ was on the biggest show ever. And not to say that, he'll have 100 more wins after this. But at this time.
In the same room with you.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it was the biggest show ever 2 years ago.
2 years ago. What have you done for me lately?
Right. And here he is. And my buddy James was on, I'm sure around season 12 of One Tree Hill, he's like, I don't think I'll be in an audition room anytime. But nope.
Listen.
Here we are, the three of us.
Listen, I remember when my pilot didn't get picked up, I did not talk about taking things in stride. I did not take that in stride. I was very sad.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah, because it was my first lead, and
hurts.
and it was multicam, so it really, I was shanked. I felt like I had gotten somebody hit me with a shield.
And it was Diablo Cody.
Oh, Diablo Cody and Pam Fryman and just so many great people.
So all the auspices.
It was supposed to go. Like if you looked at that list of people involved, Donald Faison. Come on, this show is supposed to go.
Yes.
Greg Berlanti and Sarah Schechter. It was just all perfect people. So when that didn't go, I just was kind of like, dang. And I remember my friends were like, oh, Yvette, you always work. You're going to always work. I'm like, everybody that always works has a time when they no longer work. Like everybody who was that guy or that girl.
Right.
One day, they're not that guy or that girl. I don't care who you are. Tom Cruise, John Travolta, whoever you are. There's going to come a time in your career where it ebbs.
Yes.
Now, sometimes it ebbs to nothing, and sometimes it ebbs and then starts to flow again, but there's always downtime. So I'm not one of those people who's like, well, I've done it. I'm not that chick. Like, as soon as a job ends, I'm like, well, I'll never work again. Yeah. I immediately am sure that I'll never work again.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would assume, I think there's maybe the 1% of the 1% in this business who don't worry about that anymore, but everyone else.
Who are they though? Like, are they the Jerry Seinfelds who've decided that I'm going to end my show when I want to end my show and I'll just do comedy specials? And like, is that the person that never has to worry about it, or?
Well, I think money helps.
Yes.
And I think money buys you a certain level of security where you're just like, for better or for worse. Then, you look at someone like Chappelle who went away
and came back.
But it almost made him, a great writer said something to the effect of like, Chappelle successfully made himself notorious, like an ominous figure by leaving.
Right. Because nobody walks away.
No one walks away.
From that kind of money, who does that?
And even to walk away from that money, and then all of us would be like, well, you're done.
Right.
Like, the business is mad at you, and like, good luck. You've squandered all of your heat.
Right.
And of course, he comes back 10 years later. He's like, no, actually, I'm just as good as ever.
Yeah, but that kind of tells me, don't you think the talent wins out? For some.
It has to.
For some.
It has to. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Right.
Because, like, it's so funny now, especially, I was thinking about it too, with like there being this great diversity initiative in the business.
Yes.
And it being something that's so necessary. And like, I remember before this, I would audition for classic leading man roles in TV or film, and they'd be like, well, he's a little ethnic.
Yeah. You?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of here.
It's a little dark.
Yeah,
little, swarthy, Jewish. It's a little Jewy.
He's a little Jewy.
He's a little Jewy.
Oh, my God, Josh.
And now it's like, he's not ethnic enough.
He's not ethnic enough. That's true. I get it. I get it.
So there's like, as you said, it's dealing with those things of like, well, then I've got to hope that what I do works, and for the right thing in the right circumstance, it will win out.
Right.
Because there's so many things out of my control.
I think, almost feel like everything in this industry is kind of outside of our control. We can control our professionalism, how prepared we are for the job, and we can control the type of person we are on a set.
Yes.
Right? Which I think, if you all are listening, even more than talent, don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
There's very few jerks that get to have long careers. You have to be the most talented. You have to be Meryl Streep level talent to get away with jerky behavior. And she's a lovely woman. I'm not saying she's a jerk, but I'm saying you have to have talent at that level to be able to have people continually deal with your mess year after year after year. If you just got here and you just cute, don't do it. Oh, please
hell
do
no.
not do it.
Oh my God, life is too short.
It's so short.
Especially for me, I'm like, I know there's 5 better-looking Australian guys waiting for any
You
role
understand
that I
how
have.
many?
Are you kidding?
Lord, I can't even list how many better-looking black chicks there are for every role I want.
Now, speaking of working with jerks, what was working with Chevy Chase like?
Sorry? What?
What?
I'm sorry?
You know, my
What?
first movie was with him,
What movie?
Snow Day.
How
in
was
2000.
that, Josh? You tell me. How was it?
We were in a movie together. I don't know if we ever met,
That okay?
but he's a piece of work, and that's like, it's known.
This is the thing. I have never personally or publicly. I've never publicly talked about Chevy. Like, I don't want to tell a lie. I've never publicly talked about Chevy Chase.
And you don't have to here.
And I'm not. The reason I don't is because I don't have to.
Right.
Like, I really don't have to. And I feel like, in a great way, whatever shenanigans someone does, that's their stuff. Like, you got to own that. And I feel like as soon as I speak up about something that was done to me by some jerk like person,
Right.
it now becomes a part of my narrative.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm not riding with you on my back for the rest of my career. So you do your crappy stuff over there,
Right.
and let others speak of the mess that you've done. And I'm gonna stay on the sunny side of the street and keep things positive and joyful. So I don't have anything to say. I wish him well. Hope he's happy.
I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he's got a lot of money. I'm sure he's very happy.
I'm sure he's listening. I think he's a big fan of the Curious Pod with Josh Peck. Now, conversely, in like working with Donald Glover for, I mean, were you watching
I love him
that
so much.
and thinking like, oh yeah, like it's only a matter of time?
Listen, and it's funny. I feel like a broken record because I have talked about this
Yes.
a lot. And honestly, guys, go back and check. I'm not a Johnny come lately. I've said this about Donald since probably 2009. Donald Glover is the most talented person in every creative endeavor that I have ever met. Now, I never met Prince, never met Michael Jackson, so don't anybody come for me. But I'm saying of the people that I've met, I have not found a creative thing, like a creative lane that Donald Glover can't master. And I think in the years since I first said that, me saying that has been proven. He's a writer, he's a director, he's a singer, he's a rapper, he's an actor, he can draw, he can bake. There was 1 year.
He can bake?
He can bake 1 year.
I draw the line at
Listen,
baking.
1 year on Community at holiday time, he brought in little tiny sweet potato pies for all of us that he had made that
Tartlets?
morning. Little
Tartlets?
tartlets.
Oh,
that
God, I
he had
can't
made
take
himself.
it.
I'm telling you, this
I
dude,
quit.
He literally is that guy. So I totally. There's no, I almost, when he says that he's going to stop doing something, I'm almost like, good, because that means something great. It's like, if he stops doing music, you want him to stop doing music because he's going to start doing Broadway musicals. And if he stops doing movies, you want him to stop because he's going to start sculpting. Like, it's 1,000 different things that he could do. And the longer he stays on one, that's one other pursuit that we're missing out on. So let the man live and breathe and let him do what he wants to do. But he's
An artist.
an artist in the purest form, and also has never changed. That's the thing that makes me very happy about knowing him and proud to say that he's my friend. Every time I see him, he's exactly the same person. He's never, as successful as he is, it's never gone to his head, which I think, we've met people, we know people who have lost their minds, and he's not one of them. So
I have a few friends like that who are absurdly talented,
Right.
like where it's not fair, but I'm
Yeah.
like, you can't rein it in.
Yeah.
Like there's something, which it's funny, I was going to ask you about him because I think, at least in my experience, I've seen where someone who's effortlessly talented and, so prolific in so many areas, the one thing that they have in addition to all that is a winner's attitude. Like there's a part of their personality that I don't know whether it's that they have blinders on, whether they're insanely more ambitious than we even recognize. But like, did you see that as well in him?
Yeah, because I don't know that it might be the blinders. There's a line in Hamilton where they say, "Why do you write like you're running out of time?" That's what I think of when I think of Donald. Donald creates like he's running out of time.
Yes.
He creates as if he's the only person on the planet that does know exactly how long he's going to live. Like he got a message at 10 saying you got 75 years, and he's like, "Well, I got to get it in." Like that's how he creates. So it's almost like it just has to get out.
Yeah.
It just has to get out, and it's got to come out in every possible way that it can come out, and that's what he's doing. He's honoring the gifts. I think it was Denzel Washington that said the richest place in the world is a graveyard, because
Right.
it's full of all these different ideas and plans and dreams that people didn't fulfill. And Donald's not one of those guys. He's not going to leave here with stuff unfulfilled,
Right.
which is great. And his brother Stephen is just as talented. I feel like I don't know what was in the water at his parents' house, but it was just delicious and talent filled.
It's something good.
Right.
The water at my house was like
No,
childhood
no,
obesity.
no. Shut up.
No,
Comedic brilliance.
Never.
I want to say this too, since we're talking about community. I don't want to lay too much on Donald and not say how lovely everyone else was too. Like,
Oh,
it's talented.
and they're all killing it.
amazing. Everybody's still working, and we see each other in different configurations out in the world. And I do my best to promote everything that they're all doing, because they're just all so super talented and
Yeah.
good people.
So then you're growing up and you're in the land in Cleveland. What was your first foray in acting?
Ooh, well, acting wasn't really my thing. Music was my thing. And I didn't really act in anything really until I was, I think in high school. I think it was like in 10th grade.
Just on a whim?
Yeah, I think I just joined the drama ministry, it's my church drama club. The drama club was doing Fame, and it was like a co-partnership with the choir. And so our choir, every time there was a song, somebody from the choir would sing the songs.
Right.
So I think that's how I got kind of into it that way. And then was like, well, this is fun, but just, it's not that I was against acting. I just always loved music more.
Right.
I still do. I love music.
And I hear that too. It's funny with people that do both.
Yeah.
I usually hear unless it's like an actor, it's some Eddie Murphy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'll make an album.
Right.
I'm famous
I
enough.
might as well.
Yeah,
Right.
but usually musicians turned actors, they always say, and I don't know whether, I think it's the self-creation of music.
Right.
And that you're in control of it, whereas an
Yeah.
actor, you're so out of control of
Right.
most things.
But I think also that's why music broke my heart in a way that acting never can. Because when you put out, back in the day, we used to do demo tapes. Now you can put your own stuff up on iTunes, and you don't need a record label.
An
but
EP.
Yeah, you do EP. When I was coming up, you had to have a record label behind you, or you couldn't put an album out.
Sure.
So our bread and butter trying to get a deal was you were always doing demo tapes. You were always in the studio, always doing demo tapes, trying to get it in the hands of somebody, or trying to sing live. When I got my record deal, I had sung live for Michael Bivins from BBD. That's how I got my record deal.
Who was it with?
It was with Motown.
Okay.
Yeah, Motown Biv 10. Michael Bivins, around the time he discovered Boyz II Men, had a group called the East Coast Family, and I was one of the acts in that group.
Okay.
But I met him in Cleveland. He was in town performing with BBD, and I just followed him around the hotel lobby, begs to sing for him, and got signed that way. But I remember with the demo tape thing, your whole soul is in that tape.
Right.
And you're handing it to someone, and if they play it in front of you, you're watching their face to see, like, do they like it? And it's not even do they like it, it's do they like me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas with acting, I ain't me. I'm Helen Dubois.
Right,
I'm
you're-
Shirley Bennett. Like, it's not me. So if you don't like it, you don't like what Dan Schneider or Dan Harmon wrote.
Right.
That has nothing to do with me. I didn't pick my clothes. I didn't pick my hair. I'm saying lines I didn't say. It's not me. So you can kind of walk away, kind of wipe your hands and be like, well, sorry, that was a turd, but it was not my fault.
Yeah.
Whereas if you release an album
It's all on your
and
shoulders.
it doesn't do well, or you release a single and people hate it, that's you. That's all you. Especially if you wrote it, if you're a single songwriter. It's all you.
And so at what point did you say, did you have anyone support you? Like, was anyone in your life saying like, yeah, like you got something here with this acting thing? Like, you should do
acting,
this.
actually, ironically, when I was with Motown, Michael's aunt, Diane Bivins, was like kind of our pseudo road manager. She was kind of there, and they were doing this show, this movie. It aired on Fox. It was called Divas, and it was like about 4 singers, and you had to be able to sing and you had to act. And I remember Diane said, you should audition for this. I was still in Cleveland. I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. She said, well, just get a video camera and have somebody videotape you, send the tape to me, and I'll send it on. And so I got the size. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know how I looked on that tape. And I sent it to her, and she called me, and she said, I'm going to send this to the Fox people. She said, but I really think you might want to consider acting. Like,
Wow.
Nothing against your singing, you're a great singer, but you really have something as an actor. And I never thought of it like that. Like I was going to be a singer.
Yes.
You know, I would be a singer that would do a little guest star or something on a sitcom or something they needed to.
A Rihanna route.
I'd be a Rihanna.
Perhaps.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Maybe a little Lauryn Hill.
A movie here or there.
A movie
Sister
here.
Act 2,
a
perhaps.
Little Whitney, little bodyguard every now and again.
Sure.
But I wasn't going to pursue that. So that she was the first person I think that really was like, you might be able to do this. It's really weird. And I ended up doing it.
And touring around with Boys to Men and whatnot, I mean, for a wonderful religious woman as yourself, I
Yes.
imagine there
I do.
must have been some experiences.
I have a story.
Oh, yes.
I do.
Please.
This is a good story. And also know this, like back then, I don't know how they are now, but back then Boys to Men were just as, you know, religious and prudish as I was. We were like Christian kids out on the road with BBD. Don't
Okay.
trust a big button to smile.
Right.
And there was one night, we were in New York. We had just done, Boys to Men had just done a Showtime at the Apollo. We were all staying in this great hotel, like on Times Square. It was like living the life. And I remember I was calling everybody in the East Coast fam. I couldn't find anybody. And then someone finally answered and said, oh, everybody's at a party in Mike's room on whatever floor it was. So I went up to the floor and I looked down the hallway. Sure enough, it's like people knocking on this one door and the door opens and they go in. I'm like, well, that's where the party is. I ain't never been a party person in my life, but it's Michael Bivins and it's the East Coast family.
Yeah, you're living.
I'm living my life. And my idea of what a party is probably, especially back then, I had no idea how they party in Hollywood. I had no idea. So I go up to the door and I knock and the door opens like a crack. And I go to just, you know, and I said, I'm coming in. They said, no. I can't remember who was at the door. I can't remember if it was Michael or just someone else. And they said, no. And I said, well, I just saw so-and-so and so-and-so go in here. They were like, this party's not for you, Yvette.
You don't want any part
You
of
don't
this.
want any part. And I'm like, but it's, and the people, this would kill me, Josh, the two people I saw go in were younger than me. So I thought it was like, oh, maybe they're drinking and I'm not old enough. I'm like,
Sure.
but so-and-so came in. It was like, I don't care who you're seeing come in here. This party is not for you. And so I left going back to my room and I felt like, dang, nobody want to be with me. I'm not the cool kid or
Yeah,
whatever.
you left out.
I found out years later from Boys to Men that they weren't allowed in either.
Really?
Right. And so apparently, and I don't know, to this day, I don't know what was happening in that room, but apparently what was happening was something that whoever answered that door was like, this isn't for you. And I'm grateful to this day for all the people that have been a gatekeeper for me when I didn't have the sense to be a gatekeeper for myself.
Right.
I'm glad that there's something on me that they're like,
This isn't for
no,
you.
girl, this ain't for you. Like, I still get that. Sometimes people are like, don't come to this party. You don't need to come.
I've been to those parties.
What happens at those parties, Josh?
We're not playing board games and drinking apple cider.
Yeah, I've never, honestly, in my entire adult life, I've never been to a party where anything has happened or I've seen anything that I would not be okay with, which tells me
The cocaine.
the cocaine. I've never seen drugs in real life. I've never been around it. I've never even seen anybody do drugs. Like unless on television. So so if that's what's happening, that ain't the party for me.
Absolutely. I don't know if it's a party for anyone.
Yeah.
Well, not for me.
Or some.
Not for me for
Yeah,
sure. But
yeah.
I mean the depravity, when you walk into those things and you just see kind of, and for me, right, at 18 years old, when I started seeing these things go on and just growing up in the business in LA.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I mean, I think for certain people that are healthy,
Well,
I think there's,
prudish.
I mean, certain people walk into those things and go, oh, I want no part of this.
Right.
And I just remember walking in and thinking, oh, I've seen movies like this.
Yeah, so did it feel familiar or did it feel like,
It felt odd. It felt foreign.
were you scared at all? Did anything about it go, ooh?
The first time I did any sort of anything that would hurt my mom's feelings was over a girl. So it's very Shakespearean. I just wanted to impress and
to
be
be
a
cool.
part of. And so I didn't think twice. And then I also had sort of the impunity of being young
Yeah.
and fearless
And it was before social media too, praise God.
before social media, thank God. So, and I always say that too, because people will be nice enough to say to me like, wow, like you were a kid actor and you didn't completely lose your mind.
you're
And I'm
like-
like, don't ask Yvette for a quote. I was
Well-
like, because she was on set and saw it. But thankfully,
It was, I gotta say this though, it was shocking to me just because when your mother wasn't around, you were my baby. Like
Right.
you guys, I love me some Josh Peck. And that was so funny. Like on the show, I was like, Helen hated Josh, but Yvette loves Josh. And so it was my little pumpkin. And I'm the last person to notice that somebody has gone to the dark side. Like I just don't
Right.
even, it doesn't register because you were my little pumpkin. So I don't even remember the first time you said something to me that hurt my feelings or something where I was just like, well, where'd my baby go? Where's
Oh,
my baby?
no.
Where's my baby?
Oh, it's all flooding back to me now. Oh, Jesus.
You know, but this is the thing. These are the growing pains. This is what happens in this business. The beautiful thing is that you came out of it.
Yes.
And you are the man that you are now. And maybe had you not experienced some of that stuff, you wouldn't be the man you are now. You
Right.
might have fallen into something even worse later on. You know what I mean?
I think so, for sure. And, you know, if you look at and God knows I've unpacked this in therapy over time, but look, I've always had an affinity for overindulging in things. And
Right.
And at a young age, it was what was easily available, which was food and sugar. And then I lost all this weight and I got in shape, but I had the same mind.
Right.
And I didn't have any sort of spirituality or 12-step or what have you to counteract it.
Right.
So all of a sudden, smoking and drinking and living that life seemed appealing. And I also romanticized people like Hunter S. Thompson and Basquiat and Hendrix and all these like bad boys.
Right.
And the reality was like I was a kid from Burbank.
Right.
Like I'm Josh from Drake and Josh.
Right.
I'm not tough.
Right.
What? And so I lived that out for 3 years. And then thankfully at a young age, at 21, I woke up to the fact that it just wasn't working for me any longer. And I've been sober since then.
Good.
And so, and as a direct result, it's attracted all these wonderful things into my life. And like, I think about, I met my wife at 24, which is really wild. But I think that, she's a good girl with a normal family system and healthy boundaries. And and I'm sure that there's nothing about me that would have attracted her had I still
Had
been.
you stayed in that life. Right.
Right.
That's what's so good.
I mean, I made a movie with that kid Orlando from That's So Raven.
Oh, bless his heart.
And like, I see him out there and other people like that where I'm like, oh man, like, come here.
Yeah.
Like, let's work on this.
Let's
It
talk
doesn't
about
have to
it.
be this way.
I know, but I think this industry, I don't know what it is. Like I used to think that it was because child actors are people pleasers, right? Because you want to get the role and you want to keep the role. And,
Sure.
And so maybe the first time someone offers you something that you shouldn't say yes to, you just go, okay, well, everybody's doing it. And I just think that they get lost in the shuffle because there's nobody there to show them that there's another way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I want to say something else, too, because it may have been implied that I like Josh and I don't like Drake in real life. And I like them both in real life. And I want to make sure I make that clear.
But it's not balanced,
'Cause I
guys.
don't
Let me
want
make that clear.
I don't want the-
She has an affinity for me. Sorry, Drake. No.
Because I can see the Twitters now. Oh, my God, Yvette said that she doesn't like Drake. That is not what I said. I love Drake, too. But
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to know what your experience was walking on the set with Drake and Josh. And
what was it like? It was weird for me because it's one of the first things I ever did.
yes.
I grew up watching Nickelodeon, the early Nickelodeon, like you can't do that on television and all of that. And
Classic.
being on Nickelodeon was actually one of my childhood dreams when I was a kid too. Like I wanted to be on Nickelodeon, and so I was actually about to be on Nickelodeon. It was weird when I came on the set and it was very clear that the kids were the stars. So I'm used to, up to that point, I was used to adults being the stars and the kids being, but on that show, even on the set, like there was like ice cream and cookies and you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it looked like I walked into a cartoon,
Right.
So that part was eye-opening. And then but the other thing that made it okay is I'm such a PG-13 kind of person. Like I'm supposed to be on Nickelodeon and Disney. Like it's just like the mothership calling me home. And you guys were so good. All of you were so talented and everybody was so welcoming. And it's one of the best experiences of my acting career. And it is what and which with Community in regards to getting recognized.
Tell me about that.
Yeah.
I mean, are you, because it's a mind, it's a mind fuck for me seeing how this show has, and you can speak to this. When we made it, no one cared.
No one cared.
No one cared. Mm-mm. It was before social media.
Yep.
So it didn't have that cachet of like Lizzie McGuire or Hannah Montana.
Right.
And now that it has lived in memes and quotes, over a decade later, it bugs me out. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. And the thing that bugged me out about it and still does, like you talked about it a little bit earlier, where you'll have a fan that comes up that's 10 and a fan that comes up that's 29. That blows my mind. every 4 or 5 years, a brand new group of babies discovers this show.
Right.
So that means for the rest of our lives, Josh, we'll be in Ralph's
It's
with a little
crazy.
baby tugging. Were you Drake? Were you Drake and Josh? Like that is literally. Well, I hear it once a day.
Really?
At least once a day. And that's what I was saying. For the longest time, Drake and Josh was the one I got recognized for the most. Now it's Community and Drake and Josh are
Sure.
equal. But the fact that we finished Drake and Josh 12 years ago, and I'm still getting stopped every day by a kid or a 29-year-old, dude, you made my childhood, dude.
It's
You know what I mean?
unreal. And
It's unreal.
do people ask you where we are?
Always.
Always? Okay,
Oh my
good.
God. Do they ask you where I am? They don't ask you where I am.
They ask, well, they always say, "Where's your brother? Where's Drake?"
God.
And I always like,
It's not in my pocket.
I see red for a second,
Right.
and I want to be like, "Where the fuck do you think?"
he is? Like it's not, they don't say where you are, but they say, do you still talk to Drake and Josh?
Right.
Do you still see Drake and Josh? Are you still
Amazing.
friends with Drake and Josh? Like if we
Amazing.
would have stayed on Instagram, well, they wouldn't have done it because you were with me. But anytime I go live, I don't care where I am, there is going to be at least one person that goes, do you still talk to Drake and Josh? Or are you guys going to do another reunion movie? I hear it all the time, which means that's good. That's, in my eyes, Josh, that's making it.
Yes.
Because we are a part of people's DNA. They grew up watching us. They came home from school and they watched us. They remember things that we said. They remember things that we wear. Somebody was like, said something about nostalgia the other day online. Like, I met someone with nostalgia and I immediately thought of Helen. And I was like, wow.
That's a deep
Like,
cut.
that's a deep cut, man.
Yeah.
That's an album. That's an album hit. That's a B-side.
That's B-side,
That's
deep
B-side,
track.
deep track.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's and you're so right. And when I say I see red, I overcome that quickly and then respond with probably at his house
You're
or
right.
making music on
Yeah.
tour, whatever. You're right. And every year that goes by that I have more separation from it and
Yeah.
see the way the show has affected people, I have more appreciation for
Yeah.
it because, you know, how rare is it that you've done something that's affected
People that and this is a thing, generations of people too. Like you can do something that's a moment in time, but we've been given this great gift that for the rest of our lives, some child will know us for the
Yes.
rest of our lives, and they're all growing up. So right now, they're 29-year-olds. One day they'll be 40-year-olds.
Right.
One day they'll be 50-year-olds if we live long enough, and they will remember when I was a kid. Because I remember the Jeffersons and Different Strokes and all those Cosby Show. Like I remember all of those people from those shows. If I were to see them on the street, I'd be like, "Oh my God!" When I was 12, I used to watch your show. It never leaves. So it's such a gift.
It's such a gift, and especially doing the show with Stamos, who has his own version
Ooh,
of that
come
and
on, with
more.
Full House, please.
Please. And
Please.
he would educate me and be like, ride that,
Yeah.
enjoy it, bro.
Right.
Like these people are going to be good to you for the rest. Be good to them, and they will be good to
100%, because one day you're going to be doing conventions.
you.
We're
Right.
going to be sitting right next to each other with our canes,
Please.
signing Drake and Josh pictures. I'll be right there. How do you spell your name?
Yeah.
I sure will.
And Lou Ferrigno on the other side. You know, it's funny too. I remember you on set, and I wonder if you had this feeling, and I imagine you must have been aware of it to a certain extent. There were only two people that ever came on set as guest stars where it was immediately clicked in for everyone of like, oh yeah, like,
Really?
this person's a star.
was the other one?
You and Jerry Trainer.
Oh,
Crazy
wow.
Steve.
Crazy Steve, yes.
Because it's, and I've been, and God knows you've done so many guest spots,
Yeah.
and I've done my own share. And you walk into a TV show that's already been up and going
Yep.
a few seasons, and you're kind of like, oh God, let me just say my lines
And
right.
get outta here,
and
right.
Get out of here.
Right.
I don't even need to meet the stars.
Right.
Like whatever, because you know, you don't want to get into their orbits. They've
Right.
got their own rhythm. So for you to come and show up and not only be that way with your personality where it just was a joy, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to leave an impression. Like I'm going to make myself known here. And then God, it's got to be, I mean, that's a dream as a guest star to be like immediately for the writers to be like, oh, we need like,
Let's bring her back.
is she around next week? Like,
That's
let's,
so, you know,
let's
what's so
keep this
funny
going.
because it was one of the first things I ever did. I didn't know that was rare.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just thought that the first episode was your tryout.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So for
Sure.
the longest time, I thought, oh, they want to see if because he works at the movie theater. So 9 times out of 10, they just want to see if they like this woman.
Yeah.
And it was never if they like me. They just need me to say these lines to see if they want her to stay. So weird.
You know, it's funny too. I did a guest spot on the short-lived show Pitch on Fox.
Pitch.
And I did one episode, then they brought me back for a second one. And it was the season finale, and they fired me because I was working for the baseball organization. It's like this big moment, and I get fired.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I felt like, I think I'm, working.
Might be back. Yeah.
I might be back here. And then I remember the director, Paris Barclay,
Yeah. Oh, I
who's
love
like
him.
a Jedi, like a master director and one of the loveliest people. And he came up to me after rehearsal, and he's like, "You're not really fired."
We're going to bring you back next season. Right.
But I imagine, look, after 20 years, I was like, if this is the last episode, it was a fun run.
Right.
But I'm, a person who, if that was their first job and they get fired on the show.
Right. They're like,
you would
I
think
didn't do a good job.
Yeah, you'd be like, wow, they wrote in my exit so that it made sense for the show.
Right. But you know what's so deep, too? This is going back to when I was saying the best thing you can do as a performer is be professional and also be kind and be a good person on set. A lot of times, I think your job continues because they like you, having you around. It's
sure.
like, if it's not a closed-ended role as written, if you're at the local drugstore down the street, you always need to think, if I am a decent human being and I hit these jokes, they might have to come and get some old Pringles in the next episode, and I might be the guy or the girl that sells them. I think that you have to always think about that. It's your personality and the feeling you give people is almost more important than what you do when they say action.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because we've all been around really talented people that are jerks, and it's just a horrible feeling. I go to set and deal with this jackass. You know what I mean? It's just, ugh.
You know how we all, in real life, whether you're in entertainment or not, want a guy?
Yeah.
You know how we all when you get a handyman, when you own a home and you find a guy who fixes something well at a good price, you're like, oh, I got my guy.
I got my guy.
Put him on speed dial. I've got my guy.
I got my guy.
That's what a showrunner wants.
Right.
They want to know that the actor, the writer, he is someone that's going to show up, he or she, and they are going to perform every time, whether it's today or 10 years from now.
Right.
And then they don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
They don't have to cast again.
That's right.
They don't have to put out another, job application or whatever.
It's a delicate dance, too, like you're saying, coming to set. There's a lot of big egos on sets. Huge. And there's some people, you will hear this saying, a generous actor, people that are listening. A generous actor is someone that actually shares, and they're okay if you get the punchline. It doesn't have to be all about them.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who are big stars may not be generous like that. And so if you come on set, I just heard a story yesterday from a friend who's working on something and somebody's not generous.
Oh, I believe
it. Their lines are getting cut and they're being written out of scenes because the sparkle that they naturally bring is just too much for the star.
Yeah, they're threatened.
Yeah, anytime you have to ask someone to dim their light for you to shine, you need to question your light source.
Right.
If your light source is pure, there's nobody that can you don't need someone else to dim in order to shine. You just gonna shine. That's just the way it is. So if you find yourself trying to sabotage someone else's rise, you are out of line, completely out of line.
What do you do in those situations where
if somebody's threatened?
If you can tell that someone who perhaps might have more power than you and is feeling threatened and sabotaging you, whether they know it or not.
I have really good discernment. And when I walk on a set, I can immediately tell the vibe. First of all, I never overplay. I always play my position, only my position. If I'm a guest star or number 5 on the call sheet, I'm never going for the big joke. I'm a service the role.
Sure.
And I'm going to rock my corner of the screen, right?
Yes.
But I'm never going to rock it to a point where any attention is being pulled, because I understand the people's name above that show title are the ones people are coming to see. They may enjoy the comedy stylings of Yvette Nicole Brown in the corner, but they've come in to see the 2 or 3 names at the top.
You're a utility player.
I'm a utility player, and I know that about myself. I also make sure I let the star know on the first day, anything you need from me, I'm here for you. I'm here to service you, whatever you need. And I make sure they hear that from me. So, if I'm in a position you don't need me to be in, if I'm in your way when you're trying to get to somewhere for your punchline, move me out the way, do what you got to do, I'm here for you. So from day one, they're very clear that I'm not coming to take nothing, I'm not trying to steal nothing, I'm here to service the work.
Yeah.
And usually when you let them know, the aware ones can go, okay, this one's safe, I don't have to stress. Because I do a lot of guest co-hosting on talk shows too. And I try to make sure they know I'm here to make your show great. I'm not here to make myself great.
You're in service to
Right.
the
I'm
project.
in service to the project. I'm warming a seat for a day. I'm not trying to take this person's job. I'm not trying to outshine anything this person has done. I'm trying to service the topics we're talking about and make sure I provide you a nice setup for your punchlines. I literally am here to support you. And I think that's the reason I'm invited back, because nobody's looking at me like she tried to take my job. I'm not. I don't
Right.
want nobody's job. I want my own stuff. I ain't trying to get nobody's stuff. So it's just knowing how to read the room,
I know that I find that so to be true, because every time I've let my ego walk in first,
you can't.
And like, let me show y'all what I can do.
Yeah, never.
Like, I got this bag of tricks. It's always when I walk away devastated.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I've set up this expectation for myself instead of, and that's in every level of artistry too.
Right.
Like, there's something bigger at play here.
Right.
And we are just but a player in it.
Right. And I also don't think, Josh, that they want our tricks till they want our tricks. Like, let me explain that.
Yeah.
If they want our tricks when it's the Josh Peck show, right? When it's the Yvette Nicole Brown show, they want everything, bring up the toy chest, the treasure chest, dump it all out on the table, and let's create something from everything you have. When you're guest starring, it ain't your day.
Yeah.
It ain't your gig. Now, if you are with someone who's generous, one of the most generous comedic actors I've ever worked with is Cedric the Entertainer. If you are ever blessed to work with Cedric the Entertainer, take it up. Cedric is so generous that I did four episodes over 4 seasons on Soul Man, his show with Niecy Nash. And me and Cedric Yarbrough were fools. And we were written as fools. Our characters were these really weird neighbors, and we always had some nonsense going on.
And you and Cedric comedy
Come
pros.
on. Yes.
I mean, they knew what they were hiring.
True. And
Right.
and to Niecy and Cedric's credit, they wanted us for the roles. Niecy called me, because remember I was getting my hair colored, and she called me, I'm under that dryer. Girl, there's a role they didn't wrote for you, and you need to come on and do it. And I was like, okay, so she's not threatened by people. Cedric's not threatened by people. Cedric was number 1 on the call sheet. He's the guy people are tuning in to see.
Yeah.
There were scenes where Cedric was getting a ridiculous laugh, like just, he's a fool. He's doing something that's ridiculous. And anybody else would have went and whispered into the director's ear, and the next day, whatever that bit was would have been cut. Cedric laughed and told Cedric, do more of that. Actually, you guys, can y'all cut my line that comes after that? Because I want him to be able to fully do the blah, blah, blah. So there were times when Cedric took jokes away from himself so that me and Cedric could have a full run of it. That's generous.
That's why his name is The Entertainer.
The Entertainer.
And not the selfish jerk.
No, and there's been many more, but he's the one that sticks out in my mind. Is just ridiculously generous. And Hugh Laurie, too, on House is very generous.
Yeah, and I think that, to your point, is such... I mean, we all win. When it's working, it's like we all win. And I've been on those sets. And I think you're right in the sense of, like, as a guest star, you don't know if someone who's the lead of the show, this is the scene that you're in is one of 7 they have to shoot that day.
Right.
And it's not all about you.
It's not. You're servicing. Most of the guest stars I did was like, oh, here's your coffee. It can't be about the girl saying, here's your coffee.
Now, it's funny you say that, because I took some photos of parts you played.
Oh, God.
And I, as an actor, think this is so inspiring, right? Because, and I know that earlier we touched on the fact that you're worried that you could be entering some sort of ebb, which is just your own, fear-based stuff that we all have. And I think this is why you are who you are, and you work so much, and why you're so respected, because
I'm so scared.
You've played roles such as Clerk Number 1.
Clerk Number 1.
Art Student.
Art Student. That was on iCarly.
Old Navy Saleswoman.
That was Eddie Murphy film.
Receptionist.
Thousands of times. I can't even name the project.
Peck's Assistant.
Peck's Assistant. That was Tropic Thunder. Matthew McConaughey was Peck.
Curtis's Secretary.
That was in Dreamgirls. That role was cut.
Female Security Agent Number 2.
That was probably Malcolm in the Middle. The TSA agent.
Yes.
Yes, Malcolm in the Middle.
Woman in Restaurant.
Oh, I don't even know. I've done that 1,000 times.
Production Assistant.
Was that the Katherine Heigl movie?
Little Black Book.
Oh, I've been production assistant a couple of times. Okay, that was Little Black Book.
Classic. Stewardess.
Yeah, that was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Server.
That was For the People.
Woman.
1,000 times.
And Other Woman.
Other Woman. Most of my roles have no names, you guys.
I mean, but to me, and every time where maybe before, or even like when you were doing stuff like Community and like these big marquee roles, whenever I would see you in a big movie having like a smaller part like that, A, you always made it special.
Aw.
And B, I had so much respect because I feel like that's how you keep working.
That's what it is. You know who else does this too? Like, I don't say no to anything. And I got this from Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't say no to anything if they pay his rate.
Right.
And mine
it's a good rate though.
It's a good rate. My caveat to that is if they pay my rate and it's also something that I'm PG-13, so it has to be something that I can actually do. But for the most part, I don't say no to things. That's why I'm on game shows, I'm on talk shows, I'm on commercials, I do cartoons. Like I enjoy making people laugh and I enjoy, playing. And it's like play to me. So I don't say no. And I don't think any of that is beneath me. If someone were to call me today and go, it's a great movie and your role is woman number 5, I will be woman number 5 and they'll add that to the list.
Right.
I
forgot to mention that I was once on a plane with Cedric the Entertainer, and as we got off, he had a carry-on, which was just a case for hats.
100%, man. He's a smooth dude.
He is a hat
That's
man,
a
and
smooth dude.
there must have been 2 or 3 beautiful fedoras in there, and it was a hard case. I'm not talking a soft.
Oh, he's not checking that.
He was ready to
He's
go.
going to carry that.
Those are high-end hats.
High-end hats, man.
Gotta respect someone.
He's a clean dude. He's a clean dude.
Okay, so one of my last questions is,
No, we're almost done.
as an actress, how do you approach a part? What's your method? What's your way into a character? How do you prepare?
I'll say this, and I've said it before. I'm very hacky.
Aren't we all?
I'm so hacky. I'm not trained as an actor.
Did you take any classes or?
No, I took a beginning acting, experiencing theater is what it was called in college. And then I took a couple of acting classes here. There's a wonderful woman that taught that I audited a few classes, but that was like maybe 3 months of my life that I've been in class. And I'm not saying that proudly. I'm actually feel like I probably should have studied more. So I don't have like the toolbox that other actors have where it's like, I'm going to write a detailed history of who this woman is. I literally just say the lines as if I was experiencing, like, how would I feel if my husband cheated on me and was now standing over me with a knife?
Right.
Like, that's a very real thing. I can play that. I know what that feels. I don't know what it feels like, but I could imagine what that would feel like. So I just come at it from that perspective. And I just try to be real in the moment. But as far as like what's my motivation in this moment?
Yeah.
I'm not. And I just did a film with Ben Platt up in Vancouver, Ben Platt and Lola Kirk. It's going to be a sweet little indie film, and it's it's the first indie I've ever done. And it's some heavy things, and it's like the theme of it is heavy. It's got comedy, but it's heavy. And there was a scene where my character has to walk up to Ben and console him. And, it's a really deep moment. And the director, Peter Sattler, was like, so how much runway do you need, Yvette? You need us to back up the scene, 4 or 5 lines. I was like, no, just say action. I'll go up and I'll console him. And he's like, well, it's a pretty heavy scene, Yvette. Like, you might want some runway. I'm like,
sure.
I got it. And so he said action. I went up and I consoled him. He was like, oh, okay. And then after I did it, I was like, wait a minute. He was concerned. Maybe I should be concerned. Like, maybe I'm not giving it the weight that I should, but for some reason it just clicks in my mind, and I just know, I just feel it. I know what it feels like. So I don't know if maybe I just have a natural affinity for feelings and I can get there easily. I don't know what it is, but I don't need a lot of, like if they say that you just ran a marathon and you got to be tired, I don't need to run around the block to be tired. I can play tired.
Yeah, you can summon it.
I can summon it. And I don't know that I'll always be able to do it. I don't know that if we'd have done 50 takes, I'd have been able to do it. But I know that Peter never moved on unless he felt he had it, and he moved on. So that whatever I did naturally was enough for him. So
I wonder if too, maybe it's freeing in an interesting way, because like I've had a lot of training and then sometimes I'm bogged down in the, have I mined this enough? Have I applied my training enough?
Wow.
Or sometimes I guess it's really just second guessing. Like,
Right.
have I done everything I can to fully prepare myself for what this requires?
But I feel like you, being innately a comedian, you you have it in you to translate that to drama because it's still music.
Yes.
Don't you feel that? So, I mean, I understand the idea of training because, like I said, even I think I should train because I feel like it's something you should have because this is the other thing. Once I reach the end of my toolbox, I've reached the end of my toolbox.
Sure.
So, those that have trained can use their natural instincts up to a point, and then if they need another gear, they got a toolbox they can open up and grab another gear. Once I get to the end of what I can do, that's all I got.
Right.
So I think that I just think you might naturally have it in you too, and I think you might be overthinking
Definitely.
some of it.
I think there's a big overthinking part of it. I think I betrayed the comedy for a while because it came so naturally.
Easily, yeah.
And then I realized what a gift it was and how 9 out of 10 times in life we're finding the levity even in the
Right.
toughest moments.
Yeah.
Because rarely do we allow ourselves to be completely bogged down
That's
in
true.
the shit
That's true.
and emotionally wrecked. We're always
Yeah.
making light of things we're covering, camouflaging our real feelings.
Well, someone said once about crying on film, they said most people in real life don't want to cry.
Right.
So when you see something in the script that's like, she cries her river of tears. No, most people are fighting the crying. If they fall apart, they're mad at themselves that they're showing this much emotion, male and female. So it's almost better to play the reality of it instead of even what's written. I just think our bodies are hardwired to know if they make the experience real enough on set, your body is hardwired to do it. And I think, too, it might be something that I have in me because I do a lot of voiceovers, a lot of cartoons, and there's nothing. There's no environment. It's like you're a flying jaguar in Avalor, and you see the go-go berry tree. It's like, ain't no go-go berry tree up in here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're not flying, but you got to find a way to
Create
see
it.
it and make it come through your voice,
God
Just
bless those voiceover gigs,
Oh,
right?
I love those voiceover gigs.
Oh man, they have kept me from having to become a waiter.
Do
at
you
times.
understand?
Thank
that
God for the Ice Age franchise.
Dude, you and Ice Age. I still haven't gotten a movie. I'm dying to get a cartoon.
Oh, you
animated
will.
movie. I'm like, please. I'm like, is there another lane? Because I've maximized the cartoon television lane. I'm like, can I shift into
Yeah, I'm ready.
whatever that next gear is, please?
Upgrade me.
Can I upgrade? Yeah, no, it's great money.
Oh, the voiceover, that's just beautiful.
Y'all don't even know.
Yeah,
Y'all don't
crushing
even
it.
know.
Okay, that's it.
Bye,
Goodbye.
guys.
Bye.
That was it. That was Yvette Nicole Brown. How lucky were we to just have that conversation going through our ears. Our ears. We are lucky. Thank you again, Yvette. You are truly the best, and I loved it. Guys, have a great week. This is it. I'm sure you're getting that pang in your stomach that I get when podcasts come to an end of like, more. Maybe not. Maybe you've turned it off already. Maybe you're like, no, that was just the right amount. I'm done with this. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to switch now to something else. And if so, God bless you. You know what I mean? I'm going to switch to something else when I end this outro. I'm going to go eat lunch with my mom at our local deli. Go to Factor's Deli in Beverly Hills. Get a little pastrami on rye. Not bad. All right, guys. Take care. God bless. Take care of yourself and others. Bye.